The Toronto real estate market is quietly shifting. And if you're waiting for prices to drop or for rates to drop before considering buying or selling, you may already be behind the market. And the most interesting stat of this entire Toronto real estate market update comes in the condo market. It's actually a little bit insane. So make sure to stay till the end of the video where I really break down those numbers. Hello, everybody. It's Alex Jordan with Remax. I help people just like you buy and sell real estate in Toronto. If you get any value from this video whatsoever, please consider subscribing. And if you have any comments or any questions, just put them down in the comments and I will get to them as soon as possible. Let's get into it. Now, let's start off with the big one. It seems like the market's tightening a little bit. Okay. So GTA sales volume, so the number of homes sold, has increased 9.4% year over year from June of 2025 to June of 2026. That's significant. Now, normally, if sales go up, you'd expect more listings to come in the market because people are like, oh, look, this property is selling, this property is selling. Let's put our property up on the market and see what happens. But instead, the exact opposite happened because new listings actually fell almost 13% year over year from June of 2025 to June of 2026. That means that buyers are becoming more active while the number of homes becoming available is decreasing. And whenever those two things happen at the same time, competition starts to increase. Now, from the ground level, what I'm seeing is that the properties that are selling at high numbers with multiple offers, with bidding war situations, are places that don't need any work. So they're completely finished, fully renovated, ready to go. I have a couple of listings that have been sitting on the market, a few weeks, and the main reason that both of those properties haven't sold yet is because a couple of them need reno. So one of them needs a basement, actually both need basement renovations, and it seems like from the feedback that I'm getting from agents is that if it's something major like a basement renovation, clients are a little bit less interested in doing the work after the purchase. And from, my buyers, I see the same thing. I have buyers that are willing to spend significantly more money for something that's completely finished as opposed to buying something and then adding, putting in another $100,000, $200,000 into making it perfect. So that's one thing that I've seen. But wait, prices are still down. Okay, now some of you guys are probably thinking, Alex, if buyers are coming back, why are prices still falling? Great question. The prices are down 3.9% year over year from June of 2025 to June of 2026. But here's what I think is important. This is looking backwards. So when we do these market updates, you're usually looking at June of 2025 to June of 2026. But if you look at month over month updates, what's the most important thing is that compared to May, prices actually ticked up. Even Treb mentions this in this report, and that tells me that the market may have already started stabilizing to a certain extent. Again, take all of these numbers with a grain of salt, and I really do think that all of this really depends on the neighborhood that you're in. So I'm seeing really nice neighborhoods in the city be very active with property selling within a few days. Like I said, if it's a very desirable property, there's no work that needs to be done. So if you're in like Leslieville, Bloor West Village, whatever, the West End, Swansea, the Junction, even Annex, Trinity Bellwoods, properties are still selling really quickly at great prices, most of the time with offer date bidding war situations. So it really depends on the property type that you're looking at, but for the most part, if you're in that sort of category, prices seem to be stabilizing and in some cases coming up a little bit month over month and year over year in some cases as well, very specific neighborhoods. Now let's talk about sales and average price by major home type, starting in the detached market. Now the average price of a detached home in the 416 in June of 2026 was 1,648,000, which was actually up 0.3%. So not much change. But again, I hate to say this over and over again, but it's very, very neighborhood specific. There are lots of properties that come out in the West End where we specialize, Bloor West Village, High Park, Roncy, Swansea, the Junction, the Kingsway, even going further west towards like Mimico, New Toronto, and then a little bit further east towards like Trinity Bellwoods, the Annex, where prices have gone up in some cases. Because it seems like I said before, if a property is completely finished, there's a completely different market for that because people are willing to spend a little bit more. But in really highly desirable parts of the city, the detached market is thriving over any other property type. I'll give you a couple of real world examples. There was a property that sold in Bloor West Village a couple of months ago, and it would be the same thing today where it was listed on a Monday. It had an offer date the following week. The price was in the high twos. It's like 2.7, 2.8. I can't remember. It got multiple offers. It got three or four offers at that price point and sold for 3.15 or somewhere in the low threes. Okay. Again, if something is perfect that doesn't need any work and it's a good renovation, you will get multiple offers and you'll get a good price for the property. Another example is I had a set of clients that sold their property maybe 5, 6 months ago. It was a beautiful condo. I recommended selling first before buying, which is what I'm always recommending because you want to know how much money you have to work with when you're purchasing your next property. And you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you purchase something and then you feel like you have to sell a property at a certain price or lose money on it or whatever. So I always recommend selling first before buying. But we ended up selling 5, 6 months ago. We got a long close. It wasn't ideal because there was a bit of a time period where they didn't have a property that they purchased, but they ended up renting something short term. And a couple of weeks ago, we found something that we really liked. And we submitted an offer right away. It was in the low twos, and they got another offer. And then they had a bunch of other agents saying that they wanted to submit offers as well. But we made a really short irrevocable, and they ended up getting the property. So in those situations, it was a property that didn't need any work whatsoever, was in a great location. It was a detached home, and it got multiple offers the day that it came on the market. So those are the properties that are selling for the best prices. Like I said before, if it's finished, if you don't need to do anything, and if it's in a great location, those properties are still selling for great prices. Okay, let's get into semis. The average price of a semi-detached property in the 416 in June of 2026 is $1,264,000, which is actually down 1.1% year over year from June of 2025 to June of 2026. Not much of a change. We've seen what's been happening in the semi-detached market. Those numbers fluctuate constantly, but I've seen a lot of people go after semis this year in the last couple of years that were going after townhouses 2, 3 years ago because of the rule changes where now you don't have to have 20% down to purchase something up to 1.25 million. Whereas before 2024, you needed 20% down if you wanted to purchase anything over 1 million bucks. So that's the semi-detached side there. Townhouses. The average townhouse in the 416 in June of 2026 is $973,000, which is actually down 1.5% from June of 2025. Townhouses are always fluctuating around that $1 million range. I think they have gone down in price since those rule changes that I just mentioned, because now people that were initially looking at those townhouses, up to $1 million are now looking to reach up to 1.2, 1.3 million, because they don't have to have 20% down if you have enough income month over month. So the average townhouse is sitting right at $973,000 in June of 2026. Okay, the most interesting stats of this entire update come from the condo market. Okay, so the average price of a condo in the 416 in June of 2026 is $665,000. That's all condo types, one bedroom, two bedrooms, three bedrooms, whatever. Um, the sales volume on condos is up 14.3%, but the average price has come down 9% year over year from June of 2025 to June of 2026. And this is exactly what I've been saying to this camera over the last couple of years, is that we haven't really seen how much the condo market has declined over the last couple of years because properties just weren't selling, right? You had all these listings sitting on the market for months and months. I've been saying the same thing. Like we haven't seen exactly how much these prices have dropped or are going to continue dropping, which is what I think will happen, until we actually see some sold. And clearly here, the sales volume went up 14.3%, and we've seen a 9% decline in average price. Do I think we're at the bottom of the condo market? Absolutely not. There's still so many listings sitting around. Sellers aren't really adjusting to what they need, to list their property for in order to sell it. And a lot of people are in tough situations, right? Because if you bought a condo in 2021, 2022 at the peak of the market, for $650,000 and now it's down like 15%, in a lot of cases, if you're going to be losing money. People can disagree. I don't care. I think we're pretty close to the 2017, 2018 stats within condos. One thing I will say about the condo market is that the places that are still selling for good prices are those 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom spots with nice views and great buildings that have good amenities, good maintenance fees, that are well kept. And those sorts of properties are still selling for good numbers. But everything else, anything that's like a 500 square foot condo, 550, 600 square feet, have gone down like 15, 20% since the peak. And I don't think it's finished. I think it'll keep coming down. I know I'm pretty, I know those numbers seem high, and the stats say that it's not as bad as that. But I just still think that we haven't seen the bottom of the condo market. And I think we'll see it in probably 2028, maybe even 2029. Um, because that'll be the bottom, and then we'll see how long it takes to recover or prices to start coming up. It really depends on interest rates and immigration and a bunch of other stuff that I don't have time to get into right now. But the condo market, sales volume up 14.3% with average price down 9% year over year. And I think like if you're looking for a condo, not to be salesy on here, but if you're looking for a condo, it's a good time to start like looking at buildings. I wouldn't necessarily try to buy something right now. I would wait a little bit. And if you are going to buy something right now, I would highly suggest like coming in with an offer that is from 2028, if that makes any sense. Like I would price it at a 2028 price right now if you wanted to buy that condo. So if a place is listed at like $600,000, I would come in at like, 540 and say that place has been on the market and it's already come down in price and they bought it for 650. So I think if you were to purchase a condo property right now, I would try paying a 2028 price for it. Let me know if that makes sense. I haven't done one of these videos in a while, so cut me some slack, but that's what I would say about the condo market. But we're starting to see that people are selling their units, and like there were 100 or 1,124 condo sales in the 416 in June of 2026. Like that's a pretty big number. So again, I don't think we've seen the bottom of the condo market. And if you're looking to buy a condo right now, it might be a good time to start checking out buildings, start checking out what you like. If you're interested in buying a condo, I have another video. It's a how to buy a condo, a step-by-step process, so you can take a look at that. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry this video was a little bit choppy. I haven't done this in a little while, but when I saw those condo numbers, I was like, I have to make a video about this because we're finally starting to see what's happening in the condo market, which we haven't seen in like the last couple of years. And I've been saying the same thing to this camera for the last couple of years. So thank you so much for watching. If you got any value from this video whatsoever, please consider subscribing, hit that like button. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. And as always, if you're thinking about purchasing a property or want an evaluation on your home, give me a call or send me a message. I'll help you every step of the way.